Hey everybody, Editor Ben here. This is a bonus episode that happened sort of spontaneously while we were recording episode 80. Abear was asked a couple of questions about his background with Twilight and how the show came to be, and they ended up talking about it for so long that it was too much to fit into the main episode, and we decided to just cut it off and make it its own thing. So, if you've ever been curious about the background of the show or about Abear's background with Twilight specifically, this is the episode for you. And if you haven't, you gotta go. You gotta leave. And now, on to the episode.
So I'm gonna sort of disprove your theory a little bit, or at least be the exception that proves the rule. Because I never had a Twilight loving phase. I never had a Twilight hating phase.
Oh, interesting.
When I was a young person, and this sort of broke big.
Of course.
I binge watched after the last movie came out. I sourced them illegally and watched all of them.
You
over
sailed the seven seas.
Basically, yeah, yo ho. I watched all of them over the course of the weekend just to see what all the fuss was about, because I figured, like, well, these clearly aren't for me. I'm not the intended audience of these films. And I watched them and I was like, okay, yeah, that's about right. But I think the part I enjoyed the most of all the 5 movies is the part of Breaking Dawn Part 2, where they're just going around the world to various vampire clans and showing off their vampire powers.
Yeah.
And to me, as like a 21-year-old young man, I was like, who was like at the time very, very steeped in early MCU stuff, I was like,
Yes.
all right, I'm vibing with this.
Yeah,
along.
Breaking Dawn Part 2 walked so that Avengers Endgame could run.
100%.
Yeah, you know what? I can't argue with you there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does have a heist film sort of feel to it. We're building a team
Right.
to get together.
Yeah.
Assemble a team of vampires that's so hot, we can stop anyone.
There we go.
That's always been something I've loved, is just like, here's a bunch of people with powers and here's how their powers work. Like, God, this is going to get cut out because it's boring to no one but me.
sell yourself
There was
short.
a special feature on the DVD of the movie The Incredibles. Do you remember that scene from The Incredibles where Mr. Incredible
yes.
goes through the Syndrome's computer and is just
Yeah.
showing you?
Sees all
There
the
was a
dead
special
heroes.
feature that was just all of like
Yeah.
little profiles of
Oh.
all of them, and I would just like tell me all about this guy. What's Flange? What's your deal? Anyway,
Hey, Ben, I did the same thing.
yeah,
Unfortunately, I
you
can't
like
remember
learning. That's
Flange.
fun.
Yeah.
Learning is cool.
cool.
Learning is cool. So you didn't have a relationship with the Twilight series
Yes.
previously.
Correct.
What sort of started this podcast then? You have to have some sort of affinity for it.
Yeah,
now,
I don't know
right?
that I've told this story on the show in a while.
Oh, here
I don't,
we
and
go.
I don't. Frankly, I don't know that
Lore
I've
drop.
always
Lore drop.
told the whole story of the origin of Bite Sized on the show before. I've known for a long time. I started doing comedy in 2014. I've been listening to podcasts regularly since like 2008. I was an early adopter of the podcast.
Yeah.
And I've always known since I started doing comedy that one day I would want to start a podcast.
Yes.
And I had various ideas that never got off the ground, mainly through my own cowardice. I came real close to starting one in 2017 that got nowhere.
But then you started this and it was even better.
Basically, yeah, because in the year 2021, I guess we should rewind a little bit if I'm going to get granular
yeah.
here. In the year 2020, I started dating my now wife, Mindy,
Nice.
who has been a previous
lovely person.
guest on this episode. You've met her before once or twice at your wedding.
Yeah.
At Sarah's wedding, among other places.
Once or twice at the wedding.
Usually not just usually, strictly at Sarah-related events.
I bring
Yes.
the community together.
Yeah, no, that is appreciated.
This is my Breaking Dawn Part 2 Avengers Endgame. All my people I love assemble.
Yeah, at your wedding, we were like, what cool powers can you do?
And I did a little twirl.
There you go.
Yeah. So 2020, Mindy and I start dating, and she's a big fan and has been since she was a young person. And we watched them for the first time together because they were just like on TBS or whatever. They were just playing all of them all over a weekend. So I watched them with her, and seeing them through her eyes for the first time gave me an appreciation for them because like I said, I always knew these were not for me.
Right.
The way actually Twilight was introduced, the first time I ever learned anything about Twilight, it was at church. And there were these two kids
Neat.
when this was before the movie, like right after the first book came out, maybe 2006. I was 13 or 14. And there were these two kids. I was heavily involved with youth group, and there were these two kids who I did not recognize, which is weird. They would only come to large group, and they'd never do small group stuff.
Lame.
And they were like super scene-y MySpace kids, if that makes sense. Like they were
Yes,
clearly
absolutely.
It's all making sense.
always came in like matching Hot Topic outfits,
Yes,
basically. And
good.
one day they came
Nice.
into church, and like I didn't know who they were. I never talked to them. They never talked to anyone else. They would just come, hold hands, go home, or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, one day they come in and they are wearing matching shirts that started at the top that said the top 10 reasons guys should read Twilight. And I don't remember what the reasons were. But it struck me, like, this was the first time I'd ever heard about it. And I basically learned, like, there's this thing called Twilight.
Yep.
It's about vampires, and it's clearly for girls, and people are a little, like, defensive about that.
Yep.
Like, it was sort of introduced to me, and this was around the same time that I was reaching this point sort of in my emotional development as a young man, that I was learning that some things aren't for everyone.
Yeah.
And some things I don't know how deep we want to psychoanalyze myself right now, but this would have been around the same time that my brother and I were very close in age. Our tastes in music started diverging. And I had that sort of violent, why do you like this sort of hatred reaction to the music that he was listening
Sure.
to. And after a while, that is what sort of taught me, okay, I just don't like Sufjan, and I don't think Sufjan Stevens will care that I don't like his music.
Yeah,
I don't
for
think
sure.
Sufjan Stevens cares that I prefer Weird Al over him.
Sure.
They are
Yeah.
doing two very different things.
Yeah, they
And so
are.
by the time Twilight came around, I sort of had that like, cool, it's one of these again. It's not
Yeah.
for me. It's not supposed to be for me. That's fine.
Right.
So that's sort of the attitude I take with Twilight until 2020 when I meet my wife and I watch her watch. I'm less watch them with her and more watch her watch them.
Yeah.
And watching her experiencing them as someone who genuinely loved them as a young person, very deeply and very sincerely, and still loves them now, but also has that sort of what I'm calling the yearbook effect, where think about like looking back through a high school yearbook, you remember the friends and the happy times, and also, oh my God, what is that shirt? And that sort of secondhand embarrassment of times gone past.
I see.
So all that established.
Right.
2021, my wife, my then girlfriend, now wife, runs her first half marathon. And I made
Big endeavor.
yeah, and I was, wanted to be there to support her, so I stood
Yeah.
on the race path and held a sign
Nice.
that we still have. It's a rather large sign with a picture of Kristen Stewart on it that says, "You are impossibly fast and strong," and it was great. She loved it. Other people on the racetrack loved it. She took a picture of it afterwards and posted it on a website that at the time was called Twitter.
Oh, I see.
And
yes.
and like tagged a very large Twilight fan account on that website that existed then, and they retweeted it and liked it and stuff, and it blew up and it got like 500,000 likes, and for
wow.
like a weekend, and like big content aggregators were posting it. E! News reposted on their Instagram, not just their story,
Oh,
like their
wow.
main feed on the night of the
Yeah.
Met Gala.
Whoa.
So if you were looking at Instagram's feed that night of the Met Gala, it's like a picture of Zoe Kravitz, a picture of me, a picture of Rihanna. I have never
All equally important.
All
never
equally
belonged
important.
anywhere less.
Yeah.
That is not the kind of company I
I want to
typically
see you
find
walk the
myself
Met
in.
Gala carpet.
I want to see you strut.
You deserve
Hey
to
there.
be there.
One day when the theme is Twilight, I'll be there.
Okay.
So we do that. It blows up. Cool. Whatever. It fades away. It would sort of pop up every 6 months or so. Some content stealing account would post it or whatever,
Sure,
and
yeah.
someone would send it, be like, "Hey, look, it's you," or whatever. So fast forward to 2022. I was a contestant on the show Jeopardy,
Right.
and on Jeopardy,
The lore goes deep.
Oh yeah.
this is a long story, man. We're
It's a great story.
like 15
I'm so
15 minutes into the
happy
episode.
to hear it. I'm sure
I
the
know.
audience also wants to know like the inspo behind this.
And I think so too. And I'm sure I've told.
Like I knew a lot of this, like talking with you, like one on one. But like, yeah, I don't think you've ever mentioned it.
I was
Yeah.
worried I was asking a question that was well trodden territory.
No.
not really. I think I've like told bits and pieces that like these are all things that I've said on the podcast before, but I've never said them all at the same, like all in one episode. And I haven't said them in a long time, so I'm sure a lot of even longtime listeners don't know this story. But anyway, I go on Jeopardy, and part of being on Jeopardy is you have your little story, you tell about yourself. And the story I told was about holding the sign because it was a fun time. And also, like as sort of a side note, that sign has been recreated at every marathon, half marathon, 15K,
I
whatever.
saw like a photo of one, I think for the Chicago Marathon that was
Yes.
like not exactly the same as yours, but like got a bunch of likes, retweets, and in my head I'm like, A-Bear did it first.
No, for real. Like Mindy has since run more half marathons and marathons, and like she will tell me at the end of the runs how many of my signs she saw. Like one year she ran the Chicago Marathon
Incredible.
and was that she saw including me, 5 different versions of the sign.
Nice.
There was
Oh
one
my
time I think it was,
God.
I don't know if it was in Chicago or if it was in Houston, but I was standing on the opposite side of the route of someone who had the identical sign.
Shut
and
the
they didn't like
fuck
know
up.
it was me that I had the first
Yeah.
one. No one ever does, but I always want to, and like I see them come across, especially like the big Twilight Facebook group after a big race, someone will post like, look at this sign. And I always want to be like, you owe me money. I did that
I
first.
did this.
Excuse me. That's my intellectual
You
property.
should be thanking me for being so funny.
Anyway,
Yes.
I go on Jeopardy. I tell this story.
Yes.
It airs a couple months later. And then I get a mysterious Facebook message from a person I don't know, an unknown Facebook request that said, hey, are you the same Ben Abair who was recently on Jeopardy? I'm in a Twilight Facebook fan group and we're looking for you. More or less those exact words.
Okay.
And this person was kind enough to include a link to the post in question. And so I go, and this story that someone like took a screen grab of me talking about Twilight on Jeopardy and was like, look at this guy talking about Twilight on Jeopardy, and it had like 8,000-9,000 likes or something
Yeah.
like that.
Is
So
this
I
in
pop
Twilight
in.
shit posting?
Yes.
Okay, because
Yes.
I love that
Wow.
group, Ratties.
Shout out
Love
to
y'all.
Kayla and the Ratties. You are the
Love
we're
Ratties.
getting to this part of the story, but that group is the reason this show exists.
Okay.
Twilight shit posting and Twilight sewer posting are two of the main reasons that I still have a Facebook account.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So the post blows up. I start commenting in there. It's a lot of fun. People say very nice things about me, and it's
Yeah.
incredible. And so I it was around this time that I was kind of struck with the idea because, like I said, I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time and never
Yeah.
felt like I had the right idea. And I found I sort of happened upon this pocket of this huge crowd of online Twilight fans who were still very enthusiastically
Yeah.
into Twilight, despite the fact that there was not a lot of new Twilight stuff being
Nope.
made. And I did a
Yeah.
little digging around, and I found some Twilight podcasts, but surprisingly not a lot. And most of the ones that existed were about the books. Really, the only big active show I could find about the movies was The Twilight Effect, hosted by Ashley Green, which at the
she had a
time,
podcast?
yes, because about 6 months
Oh.
after we started, I think she stopped.
Oh, okay.
And so I saw this sort of like there's like an opportunity here. Like there's
Yeah.
how is there not like a big Twilight movie podcast?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I got to do a Twilight podcast. It seems
Yeah.
like there is a demand for this sort of thing. And so I thought of what it could be about. And I pretty quickly landed on this format, which is taken from a show called The Star Wars Minute. If you are not familiar, The Star Wars Minute is these 3 guys and some guests occasionally who watch and discuss the Star Wars movies 60 seconds at a time, which is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at least we do it scene by scene.
Scene by
a minute at a
scene.
time, you're in the middle of
In the
scenes.
middle of
Yeah, when I
And
came up
probably
with
in the middle
this,
of sentences.
yeah, I came up
Oh,
with this
yeah.
idea, and I was like, 60. I can't do that. That's
Yeah.
insane. And like Star Wars is maybe the only movies you could do that and get away with, because Star Wars is just so goddamn deep.
Yeah.
Like it's been around for 50 years at this point almost.
Right, yeah.
And there's 45 if you want to get exact. Don't at me. And there's a deep and dedicated fan community who will find little one-off people in the background and write entire books
Yeah.
about that guy.
Yeah, Glove Shido.
Or Wilbur Hood. Anyway, so I come up with this idea I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. And everyone I talked to is like, yeah, that's a great concept. And I
Yeah.
was like, thank you. I kind of stole
Yeah.
it. And so I start the show. And it's going good. And
I was
now
the first guest. and
Sarah
look
was the
at me
very first
now.
guest. And when we were first getting started, we get like maybe 10 downloads a week. But it's slowly grown little by little, and thanks in large part to you, the listener, but also
thanks,
the Twilight Shit
listener.
Posting Facebook
Hell
group.
yeah, listener.
That's basically a microcosm, a shortened version. The
Yeah.
TLDR of that story is
Yes.
I got sort of surprisingly shoved into the online Twilight world and was like, these people deserve a fun Twilight podcast.
Yeah, they do.
Let's give one to them. And now here we are 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
We're 23 minutes into the recording and we haven't started talking about.
Hey,
thank you for the.
But the lore's
tangent.
important.
Yeah.
The lore's important. I really thank you so much for sharing that. I really love that this all began just because you loved your now wife and we're supporting
Basically.
her.
This
and
is
like-
a wife guy podcast, okay? We love our
This
wives.
show is pro-wife, and you're not wrong about that. In a lot of ways, every time I've done something for this podcast, I basically just thought about, like, what would my wife like? Like,
Yeah.
there's this
That's so great.
idea in podcast promotion called your audience avatar, where you create like a fake person. Like if you want to pitch your podcast to advertisers,
Sure,
you sort of
yeah.
make like your proto listener and be like, Mindy is and I just describe my wife.
Your archetype.
Or like when I first started promoting posts on social media, they're like, cool, what kind of gender, what's your age range, what's your location, what kind of interest do you want the
It's
algorithm to
my
feed this
wife.
to? And I just started describing my wife to Instagram. It's working. God.
So you know what, Mindy? Thank you for being you.
Yeah.
And so describable that we can translate it to Instagram ads.
Yeah, and I and that really, the story really stops. The story that I just told stopped 2.5, 3 years ago. There's a lot more that I could talk
Sure.
about the history of the show, about how I went on Jeopardy again and talked about Twilight again, and the same Facebook group was like,
Been on
"Wow,
Jeopardy multiple times.